Of his 31 latest tweets, 3 of them mentioned tax cuts. And by the way, only to acknowledge that it passed the committee or to start tying the tax cuts to the good economic news. 7 tweets talked about how great the economy is doing. 1 tweet mentioned the NFL. 3 mentioned Melania, Christmas, or Melania and Christmas. 2 of them mentioned Matt Lauer. Almost as many tweets mentioned Matt Lauer as his legislative agenda. 3 showed videos of Muslims doing terrible things. That's the same number as talking about tax cuts. 3 talked about fake news. 1 suggested that Joe Scarborough murdered a staffer. 1 of them told his followers to look into NBC chairman Andy Lack's past. Why is Trump tweeting about these things? It's because he's a prestidigitator. If you don't know that word, that's not like Amanda's name, Prestigiacomo. It's prestidigitator. It's a word for people who have quick fingers, like a magician. Magic, where it's a sleight of hand, that is prestidigitation. Look over here, look over there, what's that? And then, well, when we're looking at that thing, something else is happening over here. So of all these tweets, why is he talking about each of these? The economy is obvious. He's trying to tie the strong economy to his tax plan. He talks about how great the economy is doing, how great the economy is doing. He's building up his credibility on the economy. Then he's saying we need this new economic agenda, this new economic legislation. Why Matt Lauer? Matt Lauer is the biggest news of the day. He has been fired for apparent sexual assault in Rio de Janeiro, but apparently rampant womanizing sexual harassment at NBC. But he doesn't just leave it at Matt Lauer. He doesn't just, look, it would be great to revel in Matt Lauer going down. That guy is a jerk. He's a left-wing hack. He was a jerk to President Bush when he would interview him. But he's not doing that. Trump isn't just leaving it in schadenfreude. He's tying it to Joe Scarborough. Why? Because he's trying to discredit the left-wing attack dog media. He's trying to paint with a much broader brush. That's why he's going after NBC chairman Andy Lack. Now, why is he tweeting about the NFL? The NFL is a culture point that is extremely popular for Donald Trump. He has broad agreement across the country on this. His approval rating is doing a lot better than the NFL's approval rating. People are cutting cable because of the shenanigans and left-wing activism they see every night at the NFL. And why the Christmas tweets? Well, they preview the war on Christmas theme, which we're already beginning to see, but I promise you we're going to see more of it this month. Why the Muslim videos? The Muslim videos, I think, tell a lot of the story. He was retweeting videos of Muslims doing awful things, attacking people and beheading a statue of the Virgin Mary, and they were all posted by Jada Franzen. She's the deputy leader of Britain First, which is a right-wing group. And this woman, who is she? He doesn't follow her on Twitter, right? He only follows 45 people on Twitter. Why tweet her? This is a woman who was found guilty of a hate crime. So the left is freaking out about this. They say he's retweeting far-right criminals, hate criminals, bigots, whatever. What was her hate crime? A simple Google search will tell you her hate crime was saying that Islam oppresses women. That was the crime. Because they don't have the First Amendment over there in the UK. They don't have freedom of speech. You can be convicted of a hate crime for just saying something which is obviously true. Obviously, Sharia law isn't good for women. A rule that says that women need to wear burlap sacks over them in Middle Eastern heat, that can't possibly be good for women. Any concept we have in the West of women's rights does not apply. Now, free speech, though, and PC, these aren't just random issues. They're central issues to Donald Trump's popularity. And this is where the claim breaks down. Why the Never Trump right and his opponents on the left, they say he's just crazy, he's just tweeting whatever. There's no rhyme or reason to it. He's a madman with his finger on the nuclear codes and the other finger on Twitter. There's no evidence that Donald Trump hates Muslim people. There's no evidence in the 4 decades that we've known about Donald Trump. We've never seen these allegations of bigotry before. Clearly, it has to serve a strategic purpose. Or we're suggesting that he just became a bigot overnight, that he just became an Islamophobe overnight or something, and he just so happened to pick a woman that ties in directly with his anti-PC, pro-free speech agenda. It doesn't work. At a certain point, either the guy just gets lucky and lucky and lucky, and he's absurdly lucky at multiple things at one time for 40 years, or he doesn't just have air blowing between his ears. He doesn't just have nothing going on in his head. He has some strategic thought and a good gut that tells him how to enact it tactically. So what is he not tweeting about? This is the actual story. I'm perfectly willing to talk about it because it's a great wing for the Republicans and for conservatives, and because the left-wing media doesn't watch my show, so I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school or pulling the veil up on this. He isn't talking about tax reform. But what was he doing yesterday? Trump spent most of yesterday on Capitol Hill bullying Republican senators into voting for the GOP tax reform in the Budget Committee. According to a Senate source for The Hill, Trump went after Ron Johnson by name. Quote, this is in The Hill. He told him to stop blocking it and to work out his concerns with the rest of the conference. He told him he would have a chance to offer amendments and he should stop being an impediment. Trump also leaned on Bob Corker and James Lankford, both of whom are Republicans that threatened to vote against the bill in committee. Senate GOP Whip John Cornyn said it was Trump's strong-arming that gave the bill, quote, a shot of adrenaline, that gave this bill that everyone has been predicting on both sides of the aisle, it's going nowhere, it's going to die in committee. Not so. It gave it some momentum. Last month, Trump also met with the entire Senate GOP caucus to get them on the same page on tax reform.